Well, there we have it. It's February 3rd, and Red Bull just launched their car. They had this big show in New York City, and I live streamed it on my channel. I know they live streamed it on their YouTube channel. The big reveal of the Red Bull RB19, and it went terribly. Now, it didn't necessarily go terribly, but it wasn't great, okay? It was awkward. It felt forced. It was basically a big advertisement for Ford, especially at the end. But we're going to go through the good, the bad, and really what we learned from this whole launch. So let's get right into it. I'm sure if you saw any of the comments, I'm sure on Twitter going around right now, or the comments on the live stream that Red Bull Racing had on their YouTube channel, you'll see that a lot of it was just overwhelmingly pretty negative. So even though it's going to be easy to dunk on, if you will, let's go with some of the good things. Look, they didn't just put a post on Instagram. They had this huge production showcasing their brand, the drivers, Christian Horner, new partnerships. So I understand, they wanted to make it this big event. Everyone tunes in. They had a ton of people watching. I mean, hundreds of thousands of people on their YouTube alone just watching. From that point of view, it was a success. And I'm sure that this will be the most kind of grand unveiling of a livery for any F1 team this season. Maybe Mercedes, is up there with them. Maybe. So in that regard, props to you guys. But now we got to get into the bad. So the whole presentation, if you will, opens up with these two. These are your hosts, Marty Smith and Giselle Zawar. I apologize for that mispronunciation. And, they do their little scripted speech talking about, the brand of Red Bull and the thanks everyone for being here. A big theme of it, and there's a few big themes, but one of the big themes is that, hey, the popularity of Formula One is growing in the United States so much, which is probably one of the reasons why they did it in New York, to build, some hype and popularity, especially now that there's even another Formula One race, Las Vegas, being added this season, 2 years in a row, and there's been a Formula One race added in the States. So with the rise of Drive to Survive, of course, they want to capitalize on the growing market of the United States. And that's a big theme of what they're doing, talking about how popular Formula One has become in the U.S. So you have them going along, they're just talking. A few ads that just kind of for their brand of Red Bull. You see a lot of just Red Bull cars driving across the states. Which of course doesn't add anything or tell us about the development of their car or anything like that. Just, hey, look, we drive a Formula One car places where you shouldn't, which, I guess that's cool and a good marketing PR sort of stunt. But, we want the most details about the car as possible. Of course, there are basically none, as since the rules and regulations haven't changed a lot, it's a livery launch. Speaking of their livery, which we'll get to in a second, come on. But then they go and they bring out Christian Horner. He talks a bit about how excited he is for the season. There was a lot of, we're champions. Now we have to maintain that. We have to maintain the top dog position. They won 17 Grand Prix last season, which is absolutely incredible. Now that there's, more races this season, maybe they can improve on that if they have the dominance. However, Horner has said that Red Bull is no longer the hunter, but more the hunted now.
We go from being the hunter to being the hunted now. And
so they go on and talk for a little bit. They have this very, scripted sort of conversation between the two. And then we get to this panel, okay? This panel of just Red Bull athletes. So this is just kind of showcasing the brand. You got some skateboarders, I think a snowboarder, some skiers, X Games sort of thing, which are big here in the States. Not sure about other countries, honestly, but the one thing that I think is true for a lot of athletes, not everyone, but a lot of athletes, I would say most Formula One drivers, but definitely these folks right here, is they're not spokespeople, they're phenomenal athletes, They dedicate a big chunk of this I say big chunk, relatively, it was a long thing, but they dedicate a sizable portion of this livery launch to just Red Bull athletes, and you can see viewership drop off as this panel is continuing to talk. So it's basically just a big advertisement for the brand of Red Bull and their other avenues. And back to the part about not all drivers or sports people, men and women, being phenomenal athletes, not necessarily the greatest spokespeople. So, I mean, there's a part of this where I was even like, why am I watching this? I'm here not because I like snowboarding, not because skateboarding, for the car. And here, I'll just play a little clip of what I'm talking about, and maybe you'll see why people in their minds were like, okay, what are we doing here? Let's get back to F1.
Invite all the people, like all the locals, to come snowboard with us. And it's pretty cool because we didn't really, it's pretty cool because it gave me this niche that I didn't know I had, which is just riding with a lot of people. And oh my gosh, I'm forgetting what I'm saying. It gave me this niche of pretty much inviting. It's like it welcomes people to what is the word? It's like pretty much getting
involved with the sport.
Yeah.
You get it. Look, nothing wrong against any of these people or anything like that, but we're here for a car launch, So it seemed like there was a lot of filler. It's like, hey, we wanted an event this long, but really we only have this much Formula One stuff to talk about. So let's just throw in a bunch of other, Red Bull advertisement branding sort of thing. But moving on, maybe you know this guy. He went viral for having this YouTube video where he does these doodles like you can see on his suit. And he doodled up the whole car, and he went viral for doing it to his entire house. This was a big section, so look, obviously they took someone big on the internet and put them here. But props to Red Bull. This was actually a really cool part of what they did, where they were saying for the 3 American races, again, capitalize on that North American market, for Miami, Austin, and Las Vegas, what they're going to end up doing is have fan contests so that fans can design the liveries used for those races. I think that's so cool. It gets, artists or people interested in the design to submit designs, and then Red Bull actually make those dreams a reality and implement them on their cars. So props to Red Bull. That's a really cool thing that they're doing, and I think something more teams should do along those lines to get fans involved in the process of Formula One. So think about this. I mean, Red Bull's been live for 35 minutes, and still there's no reveal of the car, right? So, here on the East Coast, it's 9 a.m. Work just started, and we're like, all right, let's get this going. It's cool to see everything that Red Bull's doing, but, we got other stuff to do. This really is becoming a kind of grand launch. But then they bring out Daniel Ricciardo, and they start to talk to some of the drivers. They know that Daniel Ricciardo is a huge personality in Formula One, maybe the biggest personality, one of the most liked drivers. So they talk to him a lot, probably more than Max and Checo, even though, Ricciardo is the 3rd driver, but they talk about what his role on the team is going to be, which basically they say for marketing and testing in the simulator, testing the car to get data, that sort of thing. But basically they're going to use him for marketing and advertisements, which, I mean, I don't blame him for. He's a likable guy. He'll bring in a lot of money. So then they actually talk to the drivers and Christian Horner for a little bit, get their thoughts. Again, great season last season. What are you going to do this season to make it good? But basically the same thing. We're going to keep doing what we're doing, and we're going to strive to be the best that we can be. Very, very scripted response coming from Red Bull. And then we finally get to the livery reveal, and I'll play that little section for you here. It's the same damn car. Same car. Okay, cool. Added some different sponsors. Ooh, maybe a different red accent there. Maybe a different yellow accent here. Same car. You came up with this massive announcement, this huge event in New York to build up hype. Same damn car. Like right now, 2 launches in, Haas takes the cake for the sickest redesign of, a livery. And yeah, it's great. Red Bull's going to be doing certain, fan design liveries at American races, but come on, dude. You got the same car. It's just, switch it up. Do something cool, innovative. When Mercedes went 2 seasons ago, I think, 2 or 3 seasons ago to their black and like teal, light green, whatever it was. I mean, that was so sick. But no, you got the blue, red, yellow. No shock. Red Bull. Come on. Come on. I get it. Look, you probably don't have to change that car one bit and just run it on the track this next season and you'll win, but at least get some money out of your design department. At least get some money out of them. So just when you think, okay, look, we got what we came for, the livery's revealed, they announced their official partnership with Ford coming into 2026, and they bring out the Ford CEO, and he talks all about how excited they are to be back in F1, all this jazz, and how basically Ford is going to be the auto supplier. The Ford CEO, I guess rightfully so, he was really just, it's a Ford advertisement for the most part. They even like played a Ford commercial basically, talking about, you know, how they're committed to the sustainability aspect and how they think they can really provide some value. But I mean, if we're being honest, Honda created a phenomenal engine for Red Bull, and then Honda got out of the sport and Red Bull just took over their department. And then in 2026, I think Ford is just going to slap their name on the engine that Red Bull and Honda have created and call it a Ford engine, and it'll be great because it's a Red Bull engine at the heart, you know, at the end of the day. So this launch event could have been so much shorter. Talk to the drivers, talk to Christian Horner, announce your partnership with Ford, unveil the car. Hopefully it would look different, but you know, that's not Red Bull. They're the grand, in your face, look at us, even though we're the same, look at us. So look, I'm excited for the other livery reveals. I hope we see some different things. I hope we see more Haas, less Red Bull. Although an event like this to watch is cool. You have everyone, a lot of Formula One fans gathered watching the same thing, so that's sweet. So that's kind of the review of the Red Bull livery reveal. Underwhelming. That's what I'll say. Underwhelming. I'll be live streaming every livery reveal on the YouTube channel, so subscribe so you don't miss that. Appreciate you tuning in, and catch you next video.